Well, on Tuesday, we had a result that almost none of us saw come in. Just one of the panel correctly predicting that, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Under the lights at St Mary's, Saints recover from going a goal down to record a, well, I would say famous 2-1 win over Chelsea. Steve, it was long overdue. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think we've played them 17 times at St Mary's, and this was only our second win against them. So yeah, massively overdue. And I mean, to be honest, in a lot of those games, we've not even been close. I mean, last season was a fairly extreme example,
wasn't it? Was it 6? Yeah.
But even when they've been sort of running away with titles and stuff, it's been like one of those sort of 2-0 wins that champions tend to grind out at lower division teams, where they just eventually break through, get the second goal, and then just shut up shop and see the game out with little fuss. But yeah, we were at them, and I mean, to be fair, I actually thought Chelsea were really good first half an hour. They got between the lines quite a lot, and Sterling was causing us all kinds of problems because he was sort of darting between the lines, between the in the channels between Salisu and Perrault, and yeah, it kind of looked as if we're in a spot of bother unless we kind of shut this down somehow. And actually, the way it was weird that we basically shut it down as soon as they scored, because basically straight after they scored, all of a sudden they weren't doing the same as what they weren't making the same runs. They were kind of passing in straight into sort of crowded areas, and we were managing to nick the ball off their toes and things like that. And I don't know whether that was something we did or something they did. Kind of difficult to assess, but certainly we got ourselves back on the front foot. And I mean, just two really well, one really well worked goal for the second goal, and one excellent finish for the equaliser, where I mean Chelsea should deal with that better defensively. Not quite sure Azpilicueta needed to put it out for a corner in the first place, and then he shanks the attempted clearance straight to Lavia. I thought it was interesting on Match of the Day actually. I think Ian Wright picked up on Sterling's defensive positioning. He was only concentrating on we had two players outside the area waiting for the either a knockdown or a clearance, and he was only concentrating on the one kind of nearest the kicker. He didn't obviously wasn't paying enough attention to Lavia behind him, and obviously that's exactly where the ball ends up falling. So Sterling's positioning was about 5 yards out, I think, and that basically made the difference. But it's a great finish from that position, and the power he puts on it without sort of lashing at the ball. He's not gone to hit it with any power. It's just the way he's hit it with his instep and sort of bent it round the defender just gives the keeper absolutely no chance. I saw someone on Twitter saying, "Oh, Mendy's got to do better with that." It's like you see how hard he's hit it, and it's come round 3 defenders. He can't see it.
Somebody moaning on Twitter.
Well, yeah, I mean, who'd have thought it? But it was a great finish.
It was
nothing on the keeper.
Great. And Glenn, I mean, you called it, but even you must have been a little bit surprised at the result.
Nah. Yeah, I was amazed. I was amazed. I mean, especially when we went 1-0 down, I thought, oh, we're going to get gubbed here again. It's going to be the normal Chelsea. It'll be 2-0 at half time, and then that'll be the end of that. But yeah, like with the Leicester game, as Steve said, the conceding the goal just seemed to be the sort of kick up the backside we needed. And whether it was, I don't know. I mean, their supporters certainly thought the game was done because they made a bit of noise for the first 20 minutes, and then it was almost like they sat back thinking, "Well, this is going to be easy. We're just going to roll them over now." Maybe the team did the same thing. I don't know, but they, as Steve said, they stopped doing the things that had caused us problems in the first 20, and we stepped up a gear.
We bullied them as well, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was the I mean, you know, Che Adams obviously is going to get stick this weekend for that miss against Wolves, but I thought he had an absolutely brilliant game against Chelsea.
You were talking about the nasty side to his game, weren't you? Which is good to see.
Right from the first minute, he almost picked up Thiago Silva, who's won more trophies than practically anybody else, and was just almost throwing him around, and it was just tremendous. And that Koulibaly he didn't fancy it either. And Che Adams, I thought, had a fantastic game, and that really set the tone for how we got back into the game. And and ultimately won it. But what was most impressive for me was in the second half, I never felt. I mean, you're always a bit nervous because you're just expecting at some point someone's going to do something silly and we'll let it go in. But looking back now, I never really felt like Chelsea were going to score. And I came away from the game thinking that's possibly the worst Chelsea side I've seen come down here for quite a long time. And you could tell that Tuchel wasn't happy from the way that he had his starting lineup and he changed virtually the whole. I think he brought on 4 subs by the hour mark. People like Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho, they went, and Mason Mount started squinnying around, and what a shame. And it hasn't taken that Mark Cucurella long to be infected by the big club virus, has it? Because every time he didn't get a decision, it was like the toys were going out and all this sort of stuff. So it was. We turned that around, and they started feeling sorry for themselves, and it was absolutely tremendous win and totally deserved.
My mentality is still from last season to a certain extent, because I spent the last half hour going, well, the point's okay, 2-all's all right, this is fine. I just didn't expect us to see it out. I'm like, this is different now, isn't it? And Alfie, that's all about that show of character again, which we've talked about before, but then coming back from being a goal, they're not collapsing at the moment, and they've got that belief that they can get back into a game and go on and win it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what gave us a belief on Saturday as well. All 7 points have come from losing positions, as we all know. But I think when you look at the possession, I think Southampton only had sort of 32% of the ball that game. But they limited Chelsea to 6 or 7 shots, let alone on target. I think that's testament to how high they kept them up the pitch. And that is, it's Lavia, it's Diallo, who I thought played really well. It's Romain Perraud, who played really well in that game as well. And that was the big thing for me. It was all of these players who were on the fringe of the team. They were, getting back to fitness or trying to prove themselves. So Diallo, Perraud, El Yunusi, they all played really well, on the ball and off the ball. And then that's why I was disappointed that on Saturday they were the ones that perhaps didn't play so well. But I think also didn't Chelsea line up in Ralph's 4-2-2 as well? As Ralph and Thomas obviously know each other very well. I think Ralph must have had a game plan for that. He knows his formation inside and out. And then when Thomas came and spoke to us after the match, I think somebody asked him if it proves that he needs a striker, and he gave them a very bitey answer. It's like, this is not the question to be asking me now. This is not what's on my mind. And you can see that he was tetchy and he was frustrated. And I think that you have to credit Southampton for that.
Good to see. It's great to see. Jacob, what was your highlight of the Chelsea game? Lavia's goal.
It probably was Bella-Kotchap's slide tackle in that first half, because the slide tackle was really good, but it was just the body position to cut out that pass. We couldn't square it, and he had to force him into a position where he could get that slide tackle. And I just thought it showed so much intelligence, because for a young centre-back, when you're 2v1, the initial instinct is just go and commit, just a slide tackle, and then there's an easy pass where he can square it, and he's got an empty net to shoot in, where he just slowed his feet down, jockeyed, and then the perfect timing, just delivered that slide tackle, and it was excellent. And I think he's been, Bella-Kotchap's been probably my pick of the squad, really. I did expect him to be this finely tuned already. I've looked at him before we came, and I thought he's going to be very raw. He might take half a season to get to grips with his positioning, with the tempo, in possession, what he's required to do. And everything about him so far, it's just been really refined. Of course, he's going to have dips, but I think Southampton's pool of centre-backs, which I'm sure we'll come on to with Benrick and Stevens going, looks a lot better, and it looks certainly more suited to the way Ralph wants to play in terms of his centre-backs occupying a lot of space. And Benrick and Stevens not having to scramble back towards their own goal and getting outpaced by most people. So overall, Bella-Kotchap was a standout for me.